When quantum meets spirituality, we step into a fascinating space. This audiobook will dive into how new scientific discoveries are uncovering a surprising link between quantum mechanics and spiritual ideas, something many couldn't have imagined just a few years back. Let's explore this captivating mix and see what's happening. The gap that once separated spirituality from quantum mechanics is narrowing. As science moves forward, these boundaries are blurring, or maybe even vanishing altogether. This convergence reveals that quantum mechanics, a key part of physics, gives us a deep understanding of how matter and energy interact at the tiniest levels. Think atoms and smaller particles. With concepts like superposition, entanglement, and wave-particle duality, our grasp of the universe has dramatically shifted. What's intriguing is that these scientific principles echo many spiritual and philosophical ideas. The exploration of spiritual consciousness dives into deep experiences and awareness that go beyond everyday thinking. Many religious, philosophical, and meditative traditions share these insights, revealing truths about existence, the self, and the cosmos. Traditionally, science and spirituality were seen as separate realms. Science was all about data and evidence, while spirituality was grounded in personal experience and metaphysical beliefs. But recent findings show that these two worlds might actually have some overlap. For example, the spiritual notion of interconnectedness, the idea that everything in the universe is connected, parallels quantum entanglement. This principle shows how particles can be linked in such a way that the state of one can affect another, no matter the distance between them. Similarly, the idea of superposition resonates with the spiritual understanding of potential and the oneness of everything. It suggests that particles can exist in multiple states at once until observed. New scientific research is investigating how meditation, brain activity, and quantum processes might be connected. One study by Lazar and colleagues used MRI scans to look into these links. Studies show that meditation can change how our brain is structured. Researchers found that long-term meditators had thicker cortex areas linked to attention and sensory processing compared to those who don't meditate. This indicates that meditation can lead to altered states of consciousness, which some scientists think may tie into quantum processes happening in our brains. There's a theory called orchestrated objective reduction, or ORC-OR, proposed by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. It suggests that quantum processes might occur in the tiny structures called microtubules within neurons, possibly affecting our consciousness. Even though this idea is still being debated, it's a big step toward connecting quantum mechanics with how our brains work. Another study from Pfizer in 2015 looked into quantum cognition. It suggested that some ways our brains process information could work on principles similar to quantum computing. This could mean that our brains may operate using quantum-like processes, giving us a fresh perspective on consciousness. These recent discoveries in quantum mechanics are starting to blur the lines between science and spirituality. As science moves forward, it not only helps us grasp the physical universe better, but also opens doors to tackle deep questions that spirituality and philosophy have traditionally explored. This merging encourages a more well-rounded view of reality, where scientific exploration and spiritual insight can support and enhance each other. Now let's take a look at what Newtonian physics told us. Before we dive deeper, it's important to understand the Newtonian view that has shaped our ideas for the last century. Newtonian physics, with its clear and predictable rules, still impacts many parts of our lives today. But this framework has faced challenges and updates thanks to the groundbreaking work of Einstein, Heisenberg, and other notable scientists in the early 20th century. While Newtonian physics offers a strong base for understanding the world we see, the odd and sometimes surprising rules of quantum mechanics have added new layers to our understanding. They challenge some old beliefs and open up a world of possibilities, linking the physical with the metaphysical. In the Newtonian view, everything appears separate and real, and the universe is seen as a collection of distinct entities. In this view, people act independently, like separate rocks, following the laws of motion and gravity. Newton saw time as a straight line, with the past, present, and future as clear and connected parts. This way of thinking fits with how we see the world daily, objects and people are unique entities that physically interact. While the Newtonian view is crucial for classical physics, it also shapes our broader understanding of society. It influences how we see ourselves, promoting a sense of individuality and separation. This mechanical view extends into many aspects of life, including religion, highlighting the divide between the material and the spiritual, and the self and others. Now, in Newtonian physics, the universe behaves like a giant machine where everything can be predicted. This clear-cut perspective says that if you know how things start and the rules that govern them, you can figure out how they'll act as a whole. It's summed up in the idea that understanding the parts means understanding the whole. Newton's laws of motion and universal gravitation are the backbone of this predictable world. These laws cover essential principles like inertia, force, acceleration, and action and reaction. They're used to predict how things move, like the orbits of planets, which can be calculated with impressive accuracy thanks to gravitational forces. Science backs this predictability, seen in how classical mechanics can forecast things like pendulum swings and the paths of thrown objects. These principles are key in engineering, architecture, and the automotive and aerospace industries, where knowing how things will behave ensures safety and precision. Finally, Newtonian physics is rooted in math and logic, showing that even the most complicated phenomena are governed by clear principles and numbers. Relationships illustrate the belief that, beneath the seeming chaos of our world, there's a beautiful order just waiting to be discovered. This way of thinking tells us that the fundamental laws and equations form the building blocks of our understanding of reality. By grasping these core principles, we can start to predict how things unfold on a larger scale. Take celestial mechanics, for example. Using Newton's laws of motion and the law of universal gravitation, astronomers can accurately predict how planets, moons, and stars will move. This ability to predict stems from a solid grasp of the mathematical relationships that dictate how these celestial bodies operate. But let's be clear, while logic and math are powerful tools for exploring and forecasting, they do have their limitations. The universe, with all its complexity, doesn't always fit neatly into our equations. Sometimes uncertainty, randomness, and unexpected qualities can get in the way of our full understanding. Still, the quest for knowledge remains a noble and inspiring journey. With reason and math by our side, we delve deeper into the universe's mysteries, uncovering new wonders and pushing the boundaries of human understanding. We're driven by the pursuit of truth, a constant reminder of the limitless potential of our minds. In Newtonian physics, the universe is seen as a collection of matter and the forces acting on it. Matter can be broken down into smaller and smaller pieces, all the way to atoms and even tinier particles. According to this view, every particle, from the smallest grain of sand to massive celestial bodies, follows the same basic laws of classical physics. Newtonian physics tells us that these particles and bodies feel the effects of forces like gravity and electromagnetism. Newton's laws of motion explain how these forces influence the movement and behavior of objects. For instance, Newton's first law, or the law of inertia, says that an object will stay at rest or keep moving uniformly unless something external pushes it to change. Newton's second law explains how the force acting on an object links to its mass and acceleration. Then there's Newton's third law, which states that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This clear-cut approach to understanding the world lets us predict how any given particle or object will behave, as long as we know the forces and initial conditions at play. Newtonian physics is all about predictability. It helps scientists calculate everything from the path of a cannonball to the orbits of planets. A vast range of physical phenomena can be neatly explained and predicted by breaking down complex systems into simpler parts. This method has been vital for advancements in engineering, astronomy, and various other fields. It forms the backbone of much of classical science and technology. But while Newtonian physics excels at explaining the big picture, it falls short when it comes to very small scales or speeds nearing light. In such cases, quantum mechanics and relativity step in with better explanations. Still, the fundamental ideas of Newton's work are crucial for understanding our universe. They paint a picture of a world where the basic laws governing matter and forces bring order and predictability to what we can observe. Newtonian physics ties closely to the idea that reality is shaped by what we can sense, through sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. This classic view holds that the universe is made up of physical matter and forces that we can see or measure. If something is beyond our senses or our instruments can't detect it, it's often seen as outside practical reality. This framework thrives on what we can measure and observe. It emphasizes that the physical world runs on predictable laws and principles. For example, we can see how an apple falls or how a planet moves, and we can describe these happenings using Newton's laws of motion and gravity. These laws give us a solid grasp of the observable world based on what we can see and test. The strength of Newtonian physics comes from its ability to predict and clarify phenomena that we can experience firsthand. While the sensory-based view of the world has its strengths, it also has limits. Newtonian physics does a great job explaining how objects we can see and touch behave. But when it comes to phenomena beyond our direct experience, like what happens at the quantum level, things get tricky. These tiny particles, too small for our eyes, often break the rules laid out by classical mechanics. Quantum mechanics shows us a reality that isn't always obvious to our senses, pushing back against the idea that what we can't see doesn't exist. Thanks to technology, we're expanding our sensory capabilities. Instruments like telescopes and microscopes let us explore the vast universe and dive into the tiny details of microscopic life, broadening our understanding of what's real. Now, let's take a look at the shift from Newtonian to quantum physics. This change marked a huge leap in our understanding of the cosmos. Think of it like the Industrial Age, which transformed everything. From the 18th to the 20th century, we saw technological advancements and a surge in wealth creation. But new discoveries that came with human progress didn't always fit into Newton's predictable framework. At the start of the 20th century, a new kind of physics emerged, sparked by Einstein's theory of relativity and the birth of quantum physics. This revolutionary shift in thinking brought us concepts that are mind-bending. Quantum physics describes our universe as one full of complexity, uncertainty, and unpredictability. It tells us that particles can exist in multiple states at once, and we can't pinpoint their exact locations or speeds with complete confidence. Plus, the act of observation itself influences what becomes real, which is a stark contrast to Newtonian ideas. This shift has deep implications for how we understand both the vast universe and the tiniest particles. The effects of quantum physics reach far beyond just theoretical science. It has transformed technology and brought about innovations that define our lives in the 21st century. Things like semiconductors, lasers, and quantum computing all come from the ideas of quantum mechanics. This shows how much this new way of thinking affects our everyday lives. The shift to quantum physics is a game changer, just as powerful and life-altering as the Newtonian ideas it's taking over. It pushes us to rethink what we know about reality, cause and effect, and how everything is connected. As we dive into the tricky world of quantum physics, we also have to rethink the rules and beliefs that guide our lives. We used to think of electrons as solid, unbreakable particles that followed predictable paths, thanks to Newtonian physics and its clear-cut principles. But then came quantum physics, shaking things up by revealing that electrons are actually made of energy packets called quanta, not solid bits. These bursts of energy force us to rethink our ideas of matter and reality, since they make up the very fabric of the universe. Quantum mechanics brings us to a surprising truth. Everything is really just energy. Scientists have shown that electrons, which move around the nucleus of an atom, don't travel along set routes. Instead, they're found in clouds, influencing different paths or shells around the nucleus. An electron's position isn't fixed until we actually look at it. Until then, it's like a ball in the air, existing in possibilities, acting both like a particle and a wave. The principle of superposition is one of quantum physics' most mind-blowing findings. It tells us that a single electron can be in multiple places at once, which goes against our usual understanding. An electron is more like a cloud of chances than a specific object. The famous double-slit experiment shows this idea clearly. Electrons act like waves or particles based on whether we're watching them. Adding to the confusion is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which tells us that we can't know an electron's exact position and its momentum at the same time with perfect accuracy. The clear-cut laws of Newtonian physics clash hard with the unpredictable nature of the quantum world. The universe is filled with uncertainty, and this idea really changes how we see reality, especially when it comes to tiny particles. They argue that to understand a system, observation is key. At its core, the universe is a vast network of energy fields, not just solid, separate items. So instead of seeing things as fixed objects, we begin to see dynamic patterns of energy. Before we observe something in the quantum world, everything is just potential or a mix of possibilities. Once we do observe, we narrow it down to one reality. This means that reality can change based on how we interpret it. Without observation, nothing really exists. Our consciousness shapes everything we know. Take electrons in an atom, for instance. They don't follow the neat paths we learn about in classical physics. Instead, they exist in probabilistic orbitals or energy levels. When an electron shifts from one energy level to another, it doesn't move steadily through space. Instead, it makes a quantum leap, suddenly changing its state without traveling the distance in between. This shows us the unique rules of the quantum world, which don't follow typical logic. We, too, are made of energy. Our existence goes beyond just our physical bodies. We have an energetic side defined by specific frequencies that we vibrate at. These frequencies are part of who we are, even if we don't always notice them, but they are crucial to our essence. Moreover, this idea emphasizes a deep connection among all living beings. At our core, we share the same energy field, vibrating at different frequencies. These variations create our unique experiences, but fundamentally, we are all united. Beneath our individual stories lies a vibrant common energy. Quantum physics opens our eyes to a universe where potential and connection rule. It invites us to see reality not as a bunch of isolated static objects, but as a lively dance of energy and possibility. Paradigm shift encourages us to see existence as a whole, where how we observe and perceive the world is vital in shaping our reality. Our shared energy fields weave together a connected experience. In Chapter 3, we delve into the theological insights from a quantum perspective. Both science and spirituality are unveiling a deeper link among all things. The quantum principle of entanglement shows us that the boundaries we usually set between what's objective and subjective are pretty much made up. Things we see as separate are actually intertwined in a complex web of reliance on one another. Think about quantum entanglement. When particles connect, the state of one can influence the other, regardless of the distance between them. This reveals a connection that transcends physical space and challenges our usual understanding of cause and effect. In a similar way, many spiritual and philosophical traditions recognize how our inner experiences of consciousness relate to what's happening outside. The lines between ourselves and others start to fade when we realize that our personal experiences are incredibly tied to the collective consciousness of all humanity and the universe. This idea suggests consciousness is everywhere, not just in individual minds, highlighting that everything is fundamentally one. Our inner thoughts and the world around us influence each other continuously in a feedback loop. This viewpoint urges us to move past the illusion of separation and embrace the profound connections that exist everywhere. It compels us to discard dualistic thinking and adopt a more unified view of reality, where the boundaries between our inner selves and the outer world blend into a single network of interconnection. The Bible, too, has many passages supporting the notion that we are part of God, not separate from Him. Each interpretation may differ depending on various theological perspectives and denominations, but these reflections offer a profound understanding. In the book of Acts, Paul speaks to the people of Athens, saying, "For in Him we live and move and have our being." This line shows how closely humans are connected to God. It highlights unity instead of separation. Similarly, in the Gospel of John, Jesus prays for His followers. He asks that they may all be one with Him and the Father, so the world will know He was sent by God. This shows how believers are united with God, just like Jesus is united with the Father. This idea of being united with God ties in nicely with a concept from quantum physics called entanglement. Entanglement tells us that tiny particles can be linked, no matter how far apart they are. This points to a deep connection in the quantum world. Likewise, the belief that humans and God are united echoes a similar connection in the spiritual realm. Both ideas challenge the notion of separation and focus on the deeper unity in our reality. Now, let's explore other interesting connections in quantum physics. One cool concept is the observer effect. This principle suggests that just by observing a subatomic particle, we can actually change how it behaves. Essentially, our thoughts and attention impact the physical world around us. A powerful example of this is the double-slit experiment. In this experiment, particles act like both waves and particles. But when scientists observe them, they settle into just one state, either a wave or a particle. This implies that our consciousness influences the world we live in. This idea reflects the old saying in Proverbs, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." Many spiritual traditions stress how much our intentions and thoughts shape our reality. The observer effect in quantum physics supports this by showing that our minds can actually affect the physical universe we inhabit. The connection between quantum mechanics and spiritual awareness hints that our observations can shape reality. According to quantum superposition, particles can be in multiple states at the same time until we notice them. In simpler terms, these particles have the ability to exist in various forms until someone measures them. This theory suggests that the universe is brimming with possibilities. When we concentrate on something, we choose a specific outcome. This idea closely resembles many spiritual teachings that emphasize endless potential. Many spiritual paths encourage people to use intention and focused thinking to achieve their goals and tap into their inner power. This spiritual concept is backed by quantum superposition, which shows that our world is adaptable and full of potential for realization. The Bhagavad Gita tells us that our own mind can lift us up or hold us back. This teaches the importance of mastering our thoughts to create the reality we desire. In Laozi's Tao Te Ching, there's a line that says the Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. The principle of effortless action suggests that we can achieve our goals by aligning with the universe's natural flow. In Mark 11:24, we find the idea that if we pray and truly believe we have what we ask for, it will be ours. This verse emphasizes that our faith and focused thoughts can shape our outcomes, showing us how important intention and belief are in realizing our wishes. These insights encourage us to pursue our dreams and remain open to new experiences, allowing us to shape the world to fit our needs. Embracing the notion of quantum superposition helps us expand our understanding and recognize the vast possibilities within us and around us. Now, let's dive into how quantum physics changes our views on life and death. In Newtonian terms, life ends with death. However, quantum physics tells us that energy cannot be created or destroyed. In classical Newtonian physics, life is seen as a limited experience. We're often locked into thinking that life is a clear beginning and end. You're born, and when you die, that's it. Your body just stops working and eventually breaks down. Newtonian physics supports this idea. It suggests everything, including living beings, follows a straight path and that death is the final chapter of our existence. However, quantum physics opens up a whole new view of reality, especially about energy. It turns out the nature of existence might be a lot more complicated and connected than we thought. Quantum mechanics tells us that energy can't be created or destroyed, it just changes forms. This principle is key to quantum physics and is outlined in the first law of thermodynamics, which says the total energy in an isolated system stays the same. So when a living creature dies, its energy doesn't just vanish, it transforms into other forms like heat or chemical energy, and ultimately becomes part of the ecosystem again. This shows that energy is never truly eliminated. Another intriguing aspect of quantum physics is wave-particle duality. It reveals that particles, including the ones that make up our bodies, act both like waves and particles. This means they don't have a fixed location or state. Instead, they exist as probabilities and only settle into a specific state when we observe them. Could this be touching on what we call the soul? Only time will tell. Quantum entanglement adds another layer to this. It describes how particles can become linked so that the state of one instantly affects another, no matter how far apart they are. This suggests we're all part of a bigger, interconnected quantum web. So, when someone dies, it doesn't mean it's over. It's just a shift within this web. Research in biophysics shows that energy is always being exchanged in the living world. Organisms like us do something interesting. When we breathe, our cells convert energy from food into a form called ATP. This ATP fuels many functions in our bodies. But what happens when we die? Well, the energy stored in our cells gets released into the environment, feeding into the ecosystem's energy flow. As our body breaks down, tiny microorganisms come in to help. They break down our tissues, releasing chemical energy into the soil, along with some heat, and giving nutrients back to the earth. It's a clear sign of how energy transforms and continues. Now, if the universe is mainly made up of energy, and we are a part of that universe, quantum physics suggests something fascinating. Life might not just end when we die. Unlike what classical physics says, our existence might shift to another form of energy that science hasn't fully grasped yet. This idea, while still just a theory, shakes up our usual views about life and death. It encourages us to think that our essence could keep going after we're gone, mixing into the vast energy network of the universe. Quantum mechanics, with its ideas about conserving energy and the dual nature of particles, hints at a deeper understanding of life. Here, death isn't truly an ending, but rather a transition. Although this remains a theoretical idea, it opens up amazing possibilities about life, consciousness, and the universe itself. This view aligns with many spiritual beliefs that see life as part of an ongoing cycle of energy. To sum it up, Newtonian physics sees life limited to birth and death. But quantum physics paints a bigger picture, suggesting energy goes beyond those boundaries. It's never created or destroyed, it just changes and keeps connecting life back to the cosmos. On a philosophical level, spirituality suggests that our spirit exists apart from matter, or perhaps even that spirit is the truest reality. This leads us to a deeper understanding of spiritualism as a belief system that acknowledges both matter and spirit as fundamental. Essentially, spiritualism invites us to explore the idea that our spirit transcends the physical world. The material world we deal with every day is just a piece of a much bigger puzzle. There's a spiritual realm, often invisible and elusive, that plays a big part in shaping how we experience life. This viewpoint pushes us to look beyond what we can touch and see, highlighting the significant effects spiritual elements have on our lives. Ultimately, spiritualism urges us to rethink what we believe about reality. It invites us to dive deeper into the metaphysical and to appreciate the spiritual aspects of our existence. It creates a sense of connection, suggesting that life goes beyond just the physical. It's a journey that reaches into a deeper spiritual space. Everything in the universe is made up of tiny particles, subatomic particles, that come together to create the material world we know. According to quantum physics, everything we see is formed from these quantum bits, atoms, molecules, and the forces that bind them all. Here's where it gets interesting. Electromagnetism, particularly light, holds the answers. The way electrons are tied to atomic nuclei depends heavily on light. Two other fundamental forces, the strong force and electromagnetic force, help create these bonds, allowing molecules to come together and form the objects around us. In essence, this radiant spectrum of electromagnetism shapes all types of matter. The wavelength of electromagnetic radiation influences its characteristics. Longer wavelengths mean lower frequencies, while shorter wavelengths relate to higher frequencies. The energy in each light quantum plays a crucial role in how electromagnetic radiation interacts with atoms and molecules. Lower energy quanta lead to milder interactions, but high energy quanta can push electrons to higher levels or even knock them out of their atoms. This framework shows the beauty of the physical laws that govern our universe and highlights the vital role light plays in how matter is formed and interacts. Through the lens of light, the electromagnetic force holds the atomic and molecular structure of reality together. By understanding this connection, we can delve deeper into the workings of our cosmos. Take a moment to appreciate how electromagnetic forces shape everything around us, from tiny particles to massive structures. There's a striking connection between the creation story in the Bible and the core ideas of quantum physics as we explore the universe's origins. Remember in Genesis when God said, "Let there be light," and there was light? He made a distinction between light and dark, declaring the light was good. This text suggests darkness is just the absence of light, which corresponds to photon particles in the visible spectrum. When God separated light from darkness, was he introducing the electromagnetic spectrum along with space itself? The vast dark we see relates back to that biblical story in Genesis. It makes it clear that light was the first fundamental element created. But this light isn't just about physical brightness. It's the essential force that allows everything else to exist. Everything that followed, the sky, the earth, the oceans, the stars, living creatures, and ultimately humans, was built upon that initial light. The vital role of light in holding particles together matches perfectly with the laws of quantum physics, where electromagnetism is key in forming matter. Furthermore, humans are seen as the peak of this divine process. We're gifted with consciousness and self-awareness, representing a higher level of complexity and purpose. This ability to think and reflect sets us apart as the only beings capable of deep intellectual and spiritual contemplation. So when we look at the biblical story of creation through the lens of modern science, we find an exciting blend of spiritual ideas and physical truths. Light, as the first act of creation, is both a biblical metaphor and a scientific fact that supports the universe's existence. This beautiful mix of divine wisdom and quantum physics highlights the intricate design and intelligence in everything. As the most conscious beings on the planet, humans inevitably lead us to question the nature of consciousness itself. The physical universe follows the rules of quantum physics, which raises a fascinating question. Is consciousness tied to quantum physics, or is it something beyond that? Chapter 6 dives into the quantum nature of consciousness. Consciousness is the vibrant essence of who we are. It's the colorful thread that connects our thoughts, feelings, and everything around us. Imagine it as a symphony, where the waves of our thoughts blend beautifully with the life happening outside us. Consciousness isn't just about noticing things. It's about actively engaging with our inner selves and the world. It lets us think about our own feelings and connect with what others are experiencing. It's a constant dance of seeing and reflecting, shaping our reality and our place in it. Now, quantum physics, this complex study of the universe's tiniest particles, opens up a reality that's way more amazing than what our senses can grasp. At its core, quantum physics shows that everything is made up of vibrating strands of energy. These tiny particles aren't solid things, but are dynamic waves of energy. This groundbreaking idea flips the traditional view of a solid, predictable universe on its head, introducing us to a space full of possibilities. Consciousness seems to play a significant role in this fascinating quantum universe. Like those energy strands in quantum physics, consciousness is a form of energy itself. This perspective suggests that our thoughts and awareness are more than just passive reflections. They actively shape reality. Imagine the implications if our minds are a type of energy working within the same quantum framework that governs matter. According to this view, our intentions and awareness can actually affect how reality is structured. Just like quantum particles that can exist in multiple states and change their behavior when observed, our awareness can influence how we see the world. This connection hints at a reality that's a flexible canvas, shaped by our perception. Our reality is shaped by the energetic vibrations of our consciousness, not just by a set idea. Think of our goals and thoughts as paintbrushes. Each stroke creates our unique experiences and shared moments. This idea suggests that the world around us is partly a reflection of what's going on inside us. It aligns with the belief that our awareness has the power to create reality. When we mix consciousness with quantum physics, we see a universe that's highly interconnected and responsive to our thoughts and feelings. It pushes us to rethink our roles. We're not just bystanders, we're co-creators, capable of influencing our reality through our awareness. Famed scientist Max Planck, a pioneer in quantum theory, offered a perspective that shakes up common beliefs about reality. He suggested that awareness is crucial to existence itself, not just a byproduct of physical processes. In his view, matter comes from awareness instead of the other way around. This groundbreaking idea challenges us to reconsider how mind and matter connect, asserting that awareness is the foundation from which all physical reality springs. Planck's theory finds backing in various philosophical and scientific inquiries, particularly the notion that our thoughts and consciousness play a key role in shaping our world. A popular way to say this is that we attract what we focus on. Our intentions, beliefs, and mental states aren't fixed. They're dynamic forces that interact with the universe. The thought that consciousness creates reality means our inner experiences, our thoughts, feelings, and intentions can directly influence what's happening in the outside world. Many studies and personal stories support this, showing that people can change their experiences and surroundings through focused thought and intention. For instance, practices like meditation, visualization, and positive thinking are often highlighted for their powerful effects on well-being and life situations. In many spiritual traditions, God is often linked to or seen as consciousness. This view appears in various religions and philosophical teachings, where the divine is viewed as the ultimate source of awareness, intelligence, and existence. In Hindu philosophy, especially within the Vedanta tradition, Brahman is seen as the ultimate reality and consciousness. It's described as an infinite, all-encompassing consciousness that forms the basis of everything that exists. The ancient scriptures known as Upanishads state Tat Tvam Asi, meaning that thou art, suggesting that individual consciousness merges with the universal consciousness. On the other hand, Buddhism doesn't focus much on a creator god, but it dives deep into the nature of consciousness. In some Mahayana texts, Buddha nature is talked about as pure original consciousness that exists in everyone. Then there's Taoism. In Taoist beliefs, the Tao is viewed as a fundamental principle that's the source of all things. While it doesn't define consciousness precisely like other traditions do, it holds an idea that connects closely with a universal, indescribable reality. When we look at Christian mysticism, we see a similar connection. Mystics like Meister Eckhart described God as the foundation of being and consciousness itself. The concept of the Logos in Christian theology, which means the word or divine reason, syncs up with the idea of a divine consciousness that supports reality. In Islamic mysticism, particularly Sufism, mystics often talk about God as the ultimate reality and consciousness. They believe in Wahdat al-Wujud, or the unity of existence, which emphasizes that everything is a manifestation of God's consciousness. Modern spirituality and New Age movements frequently describe God or the divine as pure consciousness. This perspective stresses how all life is interconnected and that our individual consciousness is part of a larger universal consciousness. Across many spiritual traditions, the notion that God is consciousness is a common thread. This belief posits that the divine isn't distant from awareness or existence. Rather, it's deeply woven into it. It underscores that the ultimate reality is a conscious, intelligent presence that supports and fills all of creation. So exploring the realms of quantum consciousness and spirituality reveals a fascinating landscape of complexities and details. As we dive into the science behind it all, we find hints of even more amazing discoveries waiting to be uncovered. Science, especially physics, has this incredible knack for explaining how things work, and we can't wait to see what insights come next in this audiobook. It's clear now that everything, including our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, is really just energy. These feelings, even though we can't see them, vibrate at frequencies that greatly impact the quantum fields shaping our reality. This means our consciousness, attitudes, and what we choose to focus on can actually influence what happens around us. From a scientific viewpoint, this highlights how powerful our minds are in creating the reality we experience. As we look at science's progress, we see it helping us connect the dots between natural forces with its theories and equations. Through these explorations, we catch a glimpse of the divine and start to understand the mysteries of existence and our role in the universe.